What's going on, you gamers? Today I'm going to be going over a really nice build for the Ascent. If you're after a cybernetics build that's got a lot of crowd control and does a lot of damage and is a lot of fun to play, but with great survivability, then look no further. That's coming up next. Welcome back, all you guys and girls. As always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon? I'll bring you all the latest and greatest in hints, tips, guides and builds, and of course some fun gameplay and reviews of the latest upcoming games. But for today I'm here to show you this fella right here, an absolute beast. He has some great gunplay, he does some great damage, and also has some really great augmentations about him. So what I'm going to do is chuck on a little bit of footage and show you roughly what he's about, and then afterwards I'll chuck on the full build guide. Right, so hopefully from that you can see that this guy is a lot of fun to play. He does crazy damage, he's got some of the best weapons in the game, and he's got some of the best augmentations as well, with his stats in pretty much perfect placement. So as you can see, he's definitely no pushover with 304 health and 268 energy. Now I have got quite a few skill points, so if you haven't got enough, don't worry. Just follow the general gist of what I'm about to tell you and your build will be really good. So the first thing you want to do, make sure you've got quite a few in tactical sense. The reason for that, the only healing he'll have will be from his rejuvenation field. This is the thing that's going to make sure that you actually survive at all times. If you need to bop this out, because of how high your tactical sense is going to be, it's going to mean that you're able to put it out very often. As long as you're shooting, as long as you're using your skills, you'll be doing enough damage to make sure your tactical sense actually kicks in a lot, and you're going to have that up an awful lot more than you usually would because of how long rejuvenation usually takes to build up. But with our tactical sense higher, it means our rate at 20 is 200% extra. Absolutely amazing, and it goes towards our cybernetics, which is our augmentations. Next up, and get your crit rate as high as possible. Put 20 in this at endgame, meaning you're going to be able to hit like a truck, doing all of that extra damage, and again it's going to factor into our cybernetics. Now I've put a little bit in handling, you don't have to, but I like having a little bit of reload speed. So if you can, and if you have the kind of skill point spare, definitely chuck a few points into this. And last but definitely not least is these two down here. You're going to want to chunk out your vital signs and put up your body battery as much as you can with what remainders you've got. I would say pretty much anything over 10 should be fine for your vital signs, and give yourself a little bit of body battery because it's always nice to be able to use your skills more often. All in all, this will give you a really nice survivable build, tanky, a lot of damage from your weapons, and also really cool moves with your augmentations, giving you a lot of crowd control CC and a lot of damage. So jumping over to the weapons, and just one of my favourite guns in the game, the Overwhelmer. This one right here is a modified machine gun, and it basically shoots out not just ballistic but also explosive rounds. Really nice, and does a bit of area effect, taking on lots of enemies at once and doing some great damage. The only thing that it doesn't tend to do too much damage on is obviously the robots. So for that we're jumping over to our secondary, which is our disintegrator. If you've ever watched Ghostbusters, this is pretty much that gun right there. A really nice cool gun. It's just one of those guns that shoots out a massive stream of laser. If you're playing with a friend, maybe just don't cross the beams. But it is definitely a fun gun to use, and it's very strong against those robot types. Now last but definitely not least is our tactical. For that we're using our rejuvenation field because it's always good to have a bit of survivability. This right here has a really long charge time, so if we didn't have our tactical spectre it would mean this isn't up very much at all, but because of how high we've got that, this actually is up very often, allowing you to survive pretty much any encounter. If you've got to run on a little bit, you can quite easily use some of your augmentations and just chuck this out on the floor, meaning that you're going to survive everything. Now next up for our head, we've got the custom Mech Rhino helmet. Now if you haven't got this, don't worry too much, but if you have got Scrapland unlocked, go there, farm it for a while, you'll almost definitely get this as a drop. The reason it's so good, it has absolutely great stats on the right hand side for your defensive types, especially for the physical. So if I click there, the physical is 64, energy is 20, digital 21 and fire is 35. Also it's got a nice chunk of vital signs and body energy, really goes towards making this build work, and you're very survivable with it on. Next up we've got the custom Sec 5 rig. This right here, again the defensive stats are really good. It also gives us a little bit of weapon handling, a little bit of spread reduction, and it gives us internal. All in all, factors perfect into this build. Last but definitely not least, and I've gone with these ones just here, the E60 Track Stomper leg rig. Again, the stats are really nice for the defensive, but it also gives us a nice bit of critical hit rate and some vital signs. Perfect for this build once again. If you haven't got exactly this, don't worry, just try to make it as tanky as you can. Defensive stats are what you're after, and again, like I said, the main thing you're going to be after other than that is just your cybernetics and making sure you've got enough to go into roughly this type of build here. So obviously cybernetics is your biggie, then you're going to want a bit of biometrics. If you can get a tiny little bit of motorics, you're just going to want that, like I said, for this over here, the weapon handling. Now last but definitely not least, the fun part in my eyes is this just here. So our augmentation slot number 1, and we've gone straight down here with Spiderbots. Spiderbots is just an absolutely amazing mod. It really is one of the best augmentations in the game. So much fun to use, so versatile, and it brings our tactical up really fast, meaning we've got that healing effect going on very often if we ever do need it. So it deploys multiple explosive spiderbots which will seek out targets. If nothing's in range, these guys will just stick by you until you walk into enemies, and then they're going to venture off and absolutely knock them about. A really fun augmentation to use, not a bad little cooldown and not bad consumption for how much damage they do and how much versatility they give. And speaking of versatility, this right here, the Joyrun Dragon. Just straight up one of the best CC moves in the game. If you're worried about enemies, if you're worried about being overwhelmed, this right here is such a cool mod. This right here is such a cool augment. Honestly, it's one of the better ones in the game, and looks wise is great as well. So it shoots at a dragon, it's going to hit everything, and when it does that, it's going to stun them all. If you manage to shoot one of them, they're going to turn into that blue effect that you saw earlier and explode, dealing a bit of damage in an area. Really nice and a fun one to look at while you're using. Next up, and we've got Vital Signs Booster. Just a really easy one to have on your module slot, and it means that you've got a little bit of extra durability in your build. And finally, like I said, for a module slot 2, Tactical Charge, just meaning that our healing is available whenever we need it. That without this and without all that we've put in tactical, honestly it's really hard to get that rejuvenation filled up, but the way we've got it now, it is up pretty much constant. As long as you're in battle, as long as you're fighting, you're going to have a good chance to be using that and get your health back pretty much whenever you need. Alright, all you guys and girls, I hope that's helped a few of you out. As always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, take care, I'll see you on next day.